Intense close-quarters fighting has erupted along sections of the Eastern Front, as fighters from the Azov Brigade engaged Russian troops in a series of trench assaults and urban skirmishes, Ukrainian military sources reported. The clashes, described as extremely close and highly dynamic, unfolded amid ongoing heavy combat between forces of Ukraine and Russia. According to Ukrainian officials, Azov assault groups advanced under artillery cover before breaching Russian defensive positions in hand-to-hand engagements. Military analysts say such operations typically involve small, highly mobile infantry teams moving through trench networks, fortified tree lines, or partially destroyed buildings. Once strikes artillery suppress enemy fire, assault units push forward rapidly to prevent defenders from regrouping. Footage released by Ukrainian sources appears to show soldiers navigating narrow trenches and using grenades and automatic weapons at extremely short distances. The authenticity and exact timing of the footage could not be independently verified. Close combat has become a defining feature of the war's eastern theater, where fortified positions stretch for kilometers, and both sides rely heavily on drone reconnaissance to track troop movements. Despite the prevalence of long-range weapons, ground gained often depends on infantry advancing meter by meter. The Azov Brigade, originally formed as a volunteer battalion in 2014 and later integrated into Ukraine's National Guard, gained international attention during the defense of Mariupol in 2022. Since then, the unit has been reconstituted and redeployed to active frontline sectors. Ukrainian military statements claim the recent assaults disrupted Russian defensive lines and resulted in the capture of several positions. Russian officials have not publicly confirmed those claims, but have reported repelling multiple Ukrainian attacks in contested areas. The broader conflict remains characterized by attritional warfare, with both sides sustaining losses while attempting to improve their tactical positions ahead of seasonal weather changes. Analysts note that close-quarters engagements, while costly, can yield significant local breakthroughs if attackers manage to exploit weak points in defensive lines. As fighting continues, conditions on the ground remain fluid, with neither side demonstrating a decisive strategic advantage in the immediate area. The operations are tactical, rather than strategic in scope, analysts say, aimed at restoring frontline cohesion and capitalizing on weakened Russian command and control systems. Ukrainian troops are conducting localized counterattacks near the border of Dnipropetrovsk and Zaporizhia regions, exploiting mounting communication failures inside Russian forces following the loss of access to Starlink and disruptions to Telegram, according to the Institute for the Study of War, ISW. The operations are tactical rather than strategic in scope, analysts say, aimed at restoring frontline cohesion and capitalizing on weakened Russian command and control systems. ISW says Ukrainian troops are conducting local and opportunistic attacks along the border, using the gaps in Russian command and communications. Footage from February 12th shows Russian strikes east of the Kaichur River, including east and south of Dobropilya and north of Varvarivka, northwest of Huliai Pole. Ukrainian forces had been holding these positions and are now using counterattacks to link separate strongpoints. Reports show Russian infantry assaults fell 20 to 30% after losing access to Starlink and facing telegram problems, though attacks have not stopped entirely. Daily clashes averaged 130 to 160 per day in the past week, down from 180 to 200 attacks, with occasional peaks of 230 to 250, according to Ukraine's General Staff. Friday's report showed 142 clashes in 24 hours. The most intense fighting was in Pokrovsk, 37 attacks repelled, and southern Huliai Pole, 24 attacks repelled. Russian drone and missile strikes remain high. On February 4th, SpaceX shut down gray and black market Starlink terminals in Russia and occupied Ukraine after Ukraine asked for help. This did not affect Ukrainian forces, which use official Starlink terminals to share intelligence and target information quickly. For Russian units, though, hundreds of terminals stopped working, cutting off key communications and drone operations. On February 9th, Russian authorities moved to limit access to Telegram, pushing people to a state app, Messenger Max. Telegram is the main tool Russian units use to coordinate on the front lines. While the slowdown didn't immediately reduce attacks much, it caused frustration among Russian troops. Some complained Moscow had left them to communicate with carrier pigeons. Russian bloggers first claimed Ukrainian attacks were a full counteroffensive, but later even some Russian sources admitted they were limited and local. ISW says Russia may have exaggerated Ukrainian moves to cover up false reports of its own advances. Ukraine's Southern Defense Forces confirmed there is no large-scale counteroffensive, only local fighting and maneuvering. Since the start of the day, Ukrainian forces have carried out 129 attacks on Russian positions, with the heaviest pressure on the Pokrovsky direction. Heightened activity is observed in the Gulaipilsky, Kostyantinivsky, and Oleksandrivsky sectors. According to the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, operational information as of 1600 on Sunday, February 15th, summarizes the situation on the front. The enemy continues attempts to advance deeper into Ukrainian territory. The defense forces are holding them back, inflicting significant losses on various sections of the front and tiring out the enemy along the line of engagement and in the rear. According to the General Staff, the forces of the defense carried out 3 offensive operations last year, 2 of which were on the territory of the Russian Federation. In the northern Slobozansky and Kursk directions, the invaders fired on Ukrainian towns and defense forces positions 78 times, including twice from multiple rocket launch systems. In the south Slobozansky direction, Russian troops attacked twice toward Veterinarne and Vovchanske Khutori. They did not make new attempts to improve their positions. In the Kupiansk direction, the enemy attempted to advance once in the Pishchane area. In the Lyman direction, Ukrainian defenders repelled 2 attempts by the Russian army to advance toward Stavki and Drobyshevske. In the Sloviansk direction, the Russians 4 times attempted to advance to the defense forces' positions toward Yampil, Zakitna, Krivaya Luka, and Rai Oleksandrivka. 2 engagements are ongoing. In the Kramatorsk direction, the invaders today have not yet tried to advance. In the Oleksandrivsk direction, the Russian army attacked 15 times towards Zelenyi High, Ivanivka, Oleksandrivrad, Yegorivka, Vishneve, Oleksivka, Verbove, Stepove, Danilivka, and Novozaporizhia. Enemy aviation struck the areas of Novoukrainka and Velikomy-Khailivka. The situation on the front remains tense. Defense holds the line, and units of the armed forces of Ukraine continue to deter the enemy and repel his attempts to advance.